What up, fam? Hit that like, hit that subscribe. This is the A2D Radio Phillies post-game show. Come vent with us.
What's up, my family? Listen, first-time listener, or you've been here the whole damn time. Hit that like, hit that subscribe, giddy up, let's go, no notes.
That's my baby. That's my baby.
We're going at it at 110%.
I just want 5 minutes of happiness, please. Just give me 5 minutes.
And they scored! They did it!
What the hell was that? Oh, yeah!
What the f*** are you talking about?
Welcome in, everybody. This is the A2D Radio Phillies post-game show, and we are brought to you by Royal Billiard. Go check them out. They're the premier game room store in Delaware Valley. They're stocked with the very best in pool tables, accessories, shuffleboards, card tables, dart supplies, bars, bar stools. Turn any ordinary room into an extraordinary gaming experience. Oh, do we mention they have hot tubs too? Located at 515 Bethlehem Pike, Colmar, PA, or visit them on the web, royalbilliard.com. Chrome, Greg, I'm Tom. Looks like we got the big dog Pete joining us. What up, baby? We're just getting rocking and rolling here, and we're here to vent with you. We got a lot to talk about. All right, we'll give you a World Series preview, even though it doesn't matter to us. What's next for the Phillies? How do you respond to a loss of epic proportions? 2 losses to epic proportions. A collapse of epic proportions. This is what we're talking about tonight. This isn't the easiest response. Hey, Nick, you didn't get punched in the mouth. You essentially, you guys got curb stomped. You know what I mean? Like, how do you respond as a ball club and an organization? So we'll get into a little bit of that. We'll give our standout performances of the NLCS. Game 7 recap, Phillies Diamondbacks post-game show. That's what we're talking about with you tonight. And that is brought to you by our good friends over at Baggio's Bread. They're located in Mount Laurel, New Jersey. They're home of the best stuffed bread, tomato pies, sandwiches, cutlets, meatballs. You mentioned A2D Radio, you get 10% off your order. Let me tell you something. After losses like this, you just want to eat stuff. You know what I mean? You just go coma. Try not to think about it. And listen, it's tough. It's tough. And I
some chicken cutlets down in my way.
Yeah, something, right? Something. Take the truck down. But listen, I created a poll just for funsies, just to create extra conversation. And it really was. This is the biggest collapse in Philly sports history in your lifetime. Do you agree or disagree? Let us know. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. That's where we're live. And everywhere you get your podcast, we're there as well. Hit the like, subscribe, follow, join the conversation, and vent. That's what your job to do as a fan tonight. Because listen, if you lose to a team that's better than you, you can wrap your head around crap. Okay, you just lost 4 or 5. And you went up 0-2. You went up 2-0. You can't go up 2-0. All right, you give away game 3. Your bats don't even show up. And game 4 is the game you look at. Game 4 is the game you're up 5-2. You got a chance to go up 3-1. You can't lose that game. And then everybody thought, oh, well, they're never going to lose to Philly. Well, you don't know Philly then. You don't know what we've been through. Like, I could feel it coming because nobody gave them a chance. And that's a good baseball team. And they deserve a lot of credit. They played their style the last 2 games. They stole a ton of bases against the best catcher in baseball. Okay, right? I got a lot of problems tonight. I'm so upset. And you can't have your goddamn stars, right? And I'll give them a poll question. You can't have your stars in the last 2 games go 1 for 28, and that's Turner, Harper, Schwarber, and Castellanos. You can't have that and expect to win. You ain't winning. What do you think you're winning doing that? So, listen, we're here to read off your comments. Let us know. This is the biggest Philly sports collapse in your history, in your lifetime. Do you agree or disagree? You know what? And not just because it's in the moment, because of the opponent, okay, and because of what's expected. All right, we're not here for just going to win NLCS, right? We got a lot of money on this roster. You know, we're paying to get the World Series, which isn't easy to get back. I get it. But you control the series to get back, right? So when you put it all in perspective, this is the biggest collapse I remember. And not just good it's here. Like this one's worse. I mean, you're playing a team that's not as good as you. You know it. And then you got lackadaisical and you let them feel like they can play with you. Right? And the second you lost that game in game 4, you know, you were uphill. It was uphill climb from there to try to get them to calm down as a baseball team. But with the amount of money on this team and what these stars did that I just named off in the last 2 games, that's a gigantic collapse on all levels. It is. You can't get out hit at your own ballpark 2 nights in a row. You can't struggle for 1 for 28 guys. Like, I love Harp and I love Turner and I love Nick and I love Schwartz. That's goddamn unacceptable. You ain't winning nothing like that. So we can sit around and dance on our own and cry like we did, myself included, and talk about the resiliency and how tough they were. Well, that's all a lie. That's all a lie. You're not as tough as we thought you were or you thought you were. Because you can't come up that small. There's a lot of people to blame. When you lose like this, it's not 1 or 2 guys, right? It's everybody. Everybody played a part when you lose 4 or 5. 4 or 5. Get off my lawn. Give me 4 or 5. Get out of here. I don't even want to watch again. I don't even want to talk about next year. Because you're the ones who have to look in the damn mirror and think about what you did. What you did. And you walked around like a goddamn series was over. And there's still a lot of baseball to be played. And the bigger than that, you can't be up 3-2 coming home and you tell me, like we talked about Monday, and I'll leave you guys with this. You can't tell me, you just got to win 1 or 2 games at home and you got a trip to the World Series. You sign up for that every year. And to come out and have that kind of performance at home, that's a joke. That's a joke. So I agree.
Yeah, I want to sit there and think like outside the moment, right? Like Tommy, what you said, there's nothing wrong with anything you said, right? I feel like there's some Flyers collapses, right? I feel like there's some Eagles collapses, in our lifetime, right? I mean, when you go to so many NFC championship games and you don't get there. But the thing that I can't get past, and again, I don't want to sit here and have this recency bias on here, but the money, the payroll that we have, and the team that we had built and that we went up against just doesn't allow me. Hey, at least the Flyers scored. Let's go. You can't overlook this collapse, right? Because in the biggest moment, your biggest guys came up small, right? Whether we like to admit it, right? Aaron Nola came up small. Nick Castellanos 0 for 22 at 11 Ks. Or maybe 12 and over 23 and 11 Ks in his last those many at bats, right?
Since game 2.
Trey Turner 0 for his last 15 or so, right? And then you said, Harper 0 for the last 2 games, right? Schwarber 0 for or is the one lone hit, right? If you want to keep going, so your biggest stars came up the smallest when they were needed, and I know people want to crush Rojas at the bottom of the lineup. But when Turner's 0 for 15 and Castellanos is 0 for 23, it doesn't matter what Rojas does. You know what I mean? Like when those guys are getting paid, it doesn't matter what that 9-hole spot does.
Yeah, your stars show up in these spots.
Yes,
that's what you're built to do.
And like that what was it? The 4th inning when Stock got the double and JT came up and got the single, and I'm like, or 4th or 5th inning somewhere in there, and I'm like, all right, Nicky, big at bat here, baby. Like, no better time to show yourselves here in the last couple of games. Like, no better time to break that offer. And it was what we saw the last 23 at bats. So I have to agree. All things said and done. I'm sick to my stomach right now. Like, I got to laugh just to keep from crying.
Stop.
I think it was since game 2, 7 for 43 with runners in scoring position, batting 163 across the board. Even when you had the threat, you had Bryce and Trey back to back, and the announcers actually said it. The 2 $300 million men. The 2 $300 million, not one, but 2. 2 $300 million men. Castellanos 0 for, I think since game 2, like you said, Greg, 0 for 22, 0 for 23.
Yep.
And I see it in the chat. This felt like Mother's Day this year, Game 7, Sixers Celtics. This is what this felt like. It felt like completely flat. And like you said, Greg, you can't blame it on Rojas, but a prisoner of the moment. You see that in that spot, bases loaded. Maybe Topper, you want to get something, and maybe you pinch hit for him. Somebody that could put a bat on the ball and just put it somewhere, put it in play. But Arizona, man, they outplayed us. They timely timely hitting. We don't have a Corbin Carroll on this team, somebody who's cheap who could play at the level like that. We don't have it because the guys that we are paying ain't doing jack, sugar, honey, iced tea. I'm really trying to keep my cool, but dude, this is this for all the bedlam at the bank, for everything you heard. Red October, to think that you want to fly 3,000 miles back east, and just because you were taking the field, you thought they were just going to give in and give you the NLCS and give you the pennant. Nah, they so young, they don't know what they playing for.
They're naive.
They're naive. Like you said, Corn, they're naive to it. You know what? Attaboy, Harper. Attaboy, $300 million.
Yep.
And now you attaboy right at home with me. Obviously, the way nicer home. Probably got multiple homes. But still, you get plans. When y'all took that flight back on Saturday night to get here, y'all was taking that field Monday, you thought that y'all was going to be flying to Texas or y'all was going to be hosting game one. I think they're shell-shocked. I honestly think the Phillies clubhouse right now is shell-shocked. They probably are looking at themselves like, how did this happen? Remember last year in the World Series, don't get me wrong, the Astros were a better team, right? But remember how quiet the bats got?
Mm-hmm.
2 years in a row. You want to sit here, game 2, 10-0 lead, bash. Cool. That's all well and good. Leave some in the tank. Spread that out. I mean, they had Fa out here looking like he was a right-handed Randy Johnson. The slide, like his slider that filthy.
Yeah, right. That's
his
what I
slider
thought.
that filthy. To where you're meat of the lineup. Count, like, you tell me what time. Let me ask you this: at what point did any of the 1 through 4 hitters were ahead in the count tonight?
Probably not at all, because they were swinging.
Felt like very few times.
Because this is what happens.
Everybody's swinging first to pitch.
Yeah, because you're getting overly aggressive. Right? You can't get overly aggressive. So, I mean, that's how I look at it. Like you screw drive yourself into the ground, right? You're swinging at everything. You're trying to be a hero. You're trying to lose a baseball all the time instead of just trying to put a ball in play. I mean, like, I got a whole list of things that I'll read off after Chrome goes. That's pathetic. That's downright pathetic. It's the little league shit in Game 7 of an NLCS. So, I mean, nobody's been harder on Harper throughout his career, but everything else is cute to me. Like, I'm going to be real as possible until you bring a trophy here. And we got guys you wanted to. So until you bring a trophy here, right, I'm still going to be critical. I'm still going to tell you, hey, you came up small in some of the biggest spots. And don't tell me, oh, we hit a ball to the wall. I don't give a shit. It didn't go out. Nick, your little Reggie Jackson run, right? And all these different stats and records and all this other shit. Well, you look like a loser. You might be a loser. All your cute interviews and everything. And then you got an opportunity with a guy on third base and less than 2 outs, and you're uppercutting.
Mm-hmm.
Your swing looks like garbage, like you changed something, like mid game, like we're playing in the backyard. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing? Everything I watched over the last 5 games has been unacceptable. It's been terrible baseball. It's a terrible product. All right. So, I mean, everything you did, you beat the Braves. That's cool. You beat the Marlins. And people try to tell me they'd rather see Arizona than the Marlins in round 1. That was funny. That was comical. All right. And so, I don't know. I like pizza. I can go on for days. So Crumb, go, and then I'm going to read off 2 super chats from Slayer and Kyle Cap.
Yeah. Where to start? I mean, you guys kind of touched on all bases there. You know, I think other things too. A lot of missed opportunities here. Like, you know, obviously not hitting with runners in scoring position is a major issue. And then the one hit you get, you don't score.
Yeah.
They got to be smarter in that situation, right? You already know that Castellanos isn't hitting, and they're probably, if they get to Marsh, they're probably going to walk him to get to Rojas. So take the shot and send him home and see if he could score and get a run across the board. Take a goddamn chance at that point. They didn't. I thought that was a missed opportunity, obviously. I thought you got what you needed out of Ranger to start in this game. Like, you cannot. There's nothing you could say. I mean, he got into a little bit of trouble. He pitched out of it. He gave up a couple of runs, but This offense should be able to cover the ground on there. And I'll tell you what, that 8th inning alone, watching those guys swing through those pitches and every pitch in the dirt was disgraceful. That was atrocious to watch. And I really thought maybe they would come out of there with a little bit of fire in their belly. And I knew as soon as that 8th inning was over, I knew it was done. Because, I mean, listen, Alec Boehm, I like him. He's young. What are you doing over there slamming your bat 6 times on the ground? Like, you look like a child. You look like an immature child there, brother. You got to act like a professional. And I get it. They're frustrated. I disagree to the poll only for one simple reason. I'm taking recency bias out of it. You had a Phillies team that won over 100 games in 2011. And that team had a chance to control their own destiny. And they did it. They chose to obviously allow the opportunity to play St. Louis in the first round when they could have very easily changed the way that destiny went. And that's the team that ultimately took them out. And I'm not mentioning that to be a dick. I really look at that team as that was a team that really was a force that year. When you look at the pitching staff they had in 2011, that's probably the one time I can look at in Phillies. And then obviously with Eagles, some people talk about Tampa. To me, it's the Carolina game. That's one that I felt was that one, and the Arizona game where they got smoked early, and Donovan did everything he did to try to bring them back, but they just fell so far behind against a team that was inferior to them. I think those kind of rank up there. So I have to disagree, but this is up there. This is the top 3, 4, 5 all time in Philadelphia as far as big time collapses and big moments, and particularly when you talk about the modern era. You go back to the 60s when they fell apart the last 16 games to the Cardinals. But it was a different era then. It was a different time. The money was different. The athleticism was totally different. This team was built to win in these moments, and they epically collapsed.
I would say the only other I would say Tampa Bay 0-1, because the way you went up 7-0, Joe Jervis. The feeling
he's still wide open. He's still wide open.
I'm numb. Like I feel empty, bro. Like that's
there.
It almost, because it was so infectious, Bellum at the bank. It almost it fooled us. It fooled us.
I'm gonna tell you right.
Go ahead.
I'm gonna tell you right now. That song's got to be retired. It's done.
Kill it, because it's a sad song in the first place. It's like the original song is she's like the original artist. She's not happy. Like she's going to the club. She's going to the fucking club and she's going home without nobody. She's going home by herself. Where did we?
Everybody's going home without a trophy this year again. Song is dead though.
Oh my god, bro!
I agree with what you guys said that there's going to be a lot of blame passed around. And before we went on the air, we talked about people kind of passing blame off where it probably shouldn't be. And I'm going to be very interested over the next couple of days to see where a lot of the blame gets thrown to. Everybody's going to point to Kimbrel and everybody's going to point to this and that. Everybody contribute. At the end of the day, that Kimbrel meltdown was awful, but you had 3 other opportunities to hit and nobody hit. The bats went silent.
To me, this is not going to be taken well. Probably pitcher wasn't the problem. Our pitcher wasn't the issue.
No, you're not even there if it's not for a guy like Kimbrel. So yeah, that moment sucked. That wasn't great, but you just at the end of the day, I'm not going to come down hammer down on him. It's these guys, like you guys said, that you're paying $300 million to. Nick Castellanos, who, listen, we've all kind of crowned him a little bit at points in this postseason, absolutely fell apart in this series. I mean, he looked maybe worse, which I didn't think was possible, than he did last year when he was really pressing in the playoffs. I mean, he was swinging at everything. He was swinging all over the place. I mean, it was just an epic regression. The only guy you saw Bone came and hit him a little bit today, and obviously JT had a good playoff series. Overall, you got to give JT some credit. He drove in runs and really quietly led the team in RBIs in the playoffs. So I think you give him a little bit of a nod, but situational hitting was atrocious. No, that's what's going to cost.
The Arizona Diamondbacks was actually a team where we got outplayed on the field, and I say it right now, we got outmanaged, we got outcoached. They had a strategy. the whole time.
Every time they got a runner in scoring position, you
Yes.
felt like they were going to score, and they pretty much did. That was the massive difference here. You felt like they were like every time they got on, the anxiety level would go up. However, when because you just felt like even didn't matter who was on the mound, they were going to find a way to scrap a run across the board, and more often than not, they did. This team, we were the total opposite. I just never felt like any confidence over the last 3 or 4 games, like they were going to be able to come up with a big hit.
No, they hit all their home runs in the early in the playoffs, and that was it. Kyle Cat, appreciate the super chat, brother. He said, "What a bunch of losers. Nobody should be thanking these losers for a great season because they lost to an 84-win team with a bunch of rookies. These players are losers and we're tired of losers." Maybe that might come to fruition, that they might never win, but you never know. Next year's a new year. What I will say is about the rookie, like I got no time for him to not only shove it in game 3, but then return the favor here in game 7. So, I mean, you got a rookie on the mound and he shoves it up your ass 1, 2, 3 in the first. Like, to me, there just wasn't a good approaches at the plate. And it's inexcusable, right? Like, somebody's got to hit out of those guys. Like, I don't care what you did before. I get the ebb and flow of baseball, right? I totally get it. Nobody gets it more, right? But you can't have putrid at bats. You can't have abysmal ABs. You can't have feeble ABs. I mean, name the list of ABs you can't have. You can't have. From a hitting guy, that's unacceptable to me, right? Or a guy who teaches it every day, that's unacceptable. Like, you're paid that much money. I don't want to keep running back to the money, but you're paid that money to be disciplined. You're paid that money to have an approach. You're not paid that money to swing out of your damn shoes all the time and play hero ball.
Every first pitch.
Yeah, and that's what it seemed like, right? Every 1-1 count, you end up being in their favor, right? 1-2 then. 1-2 then. So, when you talk about pitching, 1-1 counts the count you want to win. Well, we didn't win that as hitters at all tonight. Not even a little bit. Or in game 6. Or in game 3. So at the end of the day, you have a game 3 and a game 7 versus a rookie who shoves it up your ass. Who shoves it up your ass as a lineup. That's more disgusting. If Merrill Kelly came in here and beat us like he did in game 6, you tip a cap. If Gals comes in and beats us, you tip a cap. You sure as hell ain't tipping a cap to no damn rookie coming in and Citizens Bank Park and literally shoving it. That's what he did tonight.
With a 5.5 road ERA.
Yeah, and good for him. Good for the kid. But because we didn't have an approach at the plate, we allowed it. Early on, he wasn't locating. We're swinging at balls that are almost hitting us. We're swinging at balls that are way out of the zone. Like, you want to talk about swinging about balls that are a baseball off the plate? Okay, I got you. We're swinging at balls that are this far at the plate. I mean, is that real life? So early on, I said to you, Greg, in a group chat, it's over. It's a wrap, man. 1-0. I can feel it. You can feel it because you just watch the ABs. I'm watching the ABs, and none of them are good enough.
The point I called it was when we didn't pick off Perdomo. When Harper threw that ball high.
Another one of my missing notes. Right?
Harper threw that ball high.
You got to make that throw. You got to make that throw.
And that just told me that, I don't know what it is, but these guys aren't ready to go in game 7.
Yeah, because that's your best player.
The 2 things happened there, right? A, the throw was bad, but B, you didn't come. And again, I'm going to give him a slight pass that you're 30 games in there playing first base, but you have to know that you got to come get that baseball.
Yes.
You got to meet that baseball and give yourself an alley to throw. You know what I mean? That's got to be day 1, day 2 type of practice there. Because you know what I mean? And stuff like that. So you got to come and through. But as soon as he airmailed it, and I'm like, all right, we're not there tonight. So hopefully the bats can make up for the defense.
Yeah, listen, and no, real quick, back to Greg's point. Like, that's a turning point in the game. Like, that's a free out. You know what I mean? You got a guy, and you got to make that throw. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you play 30 games, 100 games, 10, 1,000 games there. I mean, that's a throw that has to be made. That's a routine pitch and catch. Now, and I say, understanding that throw has a weird angle to it, right? I get it, but come on, man. I mean, that's the basic throw that every really good first baseman puts on the money. So
we killed Ryan Howard for that throw in this.
Yeah, we killed Reese Hoskins for ours. We killed these other guys.
Murdered Ryan Howard.
Yeah, Howard, Hoskins, different guys who played first base that we've crushed defensively. period, and rightfully so. But that's unacceptable. He didn't have any, and he didn't have that big hit tonight, right? Or in Game 6, or in Game 3.
And he had
so
the
I mean,
chance.
and when you look at it, guess what? Like Pete said, Bedlam at the bank and all those other things. That's cute. But you as a baseball team haven't won shit, right? You won a national league championship. Okay, that's cool, but you don't play for NLCS titles. You play for when you're paid this kind of money as a roster and what the expectations are, you're paid to win it all. And at worst case, you're paid to sure as hell get there when you get a 2-0 lead and you got a 3-2 lead coming back home for 2. This is unacceptable. This is almost a fireable offense for a lot of people, man. I mean, this is borderline fireable. And I say that not blaming it on Rob and saying it's all Rob's fault. I'm saying you almost have to make a move of some sort because of the collapse. Unless you didn't feel like you have the greatest locker room of all time, which I'm going to tell you, you don't, by the collapse. By the collapse tells me you don't. I'm not saying there's not a lot of great guys. I'm not telling you these guys don't love each other and these guys aren't awesome human beings, right? But I'm telling you, if you got eyeballs and you watch the approach at the plate that we watched, okay, you got to move on from some people. You got to try to build it differently. You got to look for some more contact hitters, guys who can run. The game's going back again. So you need more guys like that. And Trey Turner, that's absurd. You're talking about $600 million or whatever Harper's getting. I don't even know. A lot.
Possibly about to spend more.
Right? And now you got to go spend more. Right? Nick, you're paying $100 million to. Schwarber's $100 million. Well, if those guys don't hit and you got an automatic out at the bottom of your lineup, how are you winning the baseball game? Trey Turner, you got to get that bunt down.
Yep.
Right? That is 101 baseball. So when
when you're over.
Yeah, when Nick didn't get the sack fly and Turner didn't get the bunt down, at home as a baseball guy, this is not going to age well because on the other side, you're watching the other team do the little things inside this game that you're like, shit, this is over. And you hate saying it. Like, I hate saying it that I can smell it coming. I said Game 7, Chrome. I told you a week ago this was going 7 because they're tough. Mm-hmm. They're tough, and we're not giving them enough credit because they were dead in the water in the summertime. They were dead in the water. And they had to rise up, find a way to sneak themselves in. And guess what? This ain't no joke. This team went and swept the Dodgers. This ain't no joke of a team. It's a tough team. Last thing. When we went up 2-0, us as a fan base and them as a baseball team, when we can do whatever the hell we want. But as the baseball team, you sure as hell can't be overlooking somebody. And that's exactly what happened because you can tell by the lack of plate discipline that there's lack of focus and concentration. Night.
Listen, I think, I appreciate that super chat earlier, but one of the big things that they want to talk about a bunch of rookies and this and that. Listen, I've been talking about this for weeks, Tom. Look at a guy like Ketel Marte, right? Comes out, strikes out, 2-3 times in a row? But when the big moment comes up, big hit, puts an insurance run up. It's guys like that are difference makers that we didn't see here in these last couple of games. That don't let those struggles early in their bats affect them for the entirety of the game. When the big moment comes, he produces. We didn't see that here, and I think that they just had guys who situationally hit. That's what killed this team. And the thing that I look at this team, listen, I like Rojas, but you cannot have a guy who's hitting under 100. I thought they should have probably started Pache. I know he's not phenomenally better, but I'll take a 230 hitter over a guy who's hitting under 100 at that point. The defensive drop-off isn't so large. I think what the Phillies need to do, continue to groom Rojas. I think they need a center fielder or Marsh and get another left fielder, however they want to work that. They need to go out and get a closer this offseason. A legitimate, bona fide, guaranteed this guy's going out there for 40 saves, 45 saves this season closer. This whole committee and this and that. I don't want to knock Topper too much.
I'm bringing Rhys Hoskins back next year.
I think Rhys should be back. I agree with you.
I don't care what anybody says. I'm looking, if you're going to build it all off of power, then I want as much power as I can get.
You need
right?
Reese,
if you're going to build,
again,
I don't agree with the whole power or nothing game. Right? I'm not a fan of that. And I think that's where I think that's where Marsh, Stott, Bohm, whoever you play in center field, Turner, they got to make up for that. They got to make up for those other
Agreed.
three guys, and even JT are going to be a lot of boom or bust at times, right? Mm-hmm. And then you got to surround it, and to those guys, taking those guys' sides a little bit, they weren't good enough in this series either. Marsh was, but Bohm and Stott, up until today, and a little, they didn't hit good enough, right? And then you put that with now what your other four hitters are doing. Oh, how you winning? You're not. There ain't a shot in hell you're winning. So I mean, I don't know how. Like I said, Greg, I don't know how as a baseball team you come back from this, and we'll talk about that later, right after we take a break in a few minutes. But I just there's a lot of question marks, and I would build a lineup differently. Like I would build a lineup with power, of course, because you need to lose baseballs. But I'm looking for guys that put balls in play. I'm looking for contact guys, and you obviously have the money to spend to do some things here that can make you better next year, right? Because at the end of the day, it's hard to get back, but you got to go out and keep spending money and then hope you can keep getting some young guys like Arizona that come up late in the year that can be somewhat impactful for you in different roles. I don't know. Listen, this is tough to swallow.
Yeah, and real quick, while Bohm and Stott came up big tonight in spots, there was also spots in games 3, 4, 5, 6 where they came up and they didn't come up big. You know what I mean? And they really, struggled in those games. So it's great to see that they showed up in game 7 because that's always a good start. But
I would fill Liverpool. Here's the thing.
Yeah. I'll do it in a minute. If you tell me
I just don't know what his value is.
I'll take Soto.
I would say so. I just don't know what his value is.
I don't care what his value is. Right. You know what I mean? Because I'm not paying it. Like the ballpark made so much money going 7, so I don't give a rat's ass. Right? You just made that money, so I don't care about. Not arguing with you, Chrome. Just saying. Like I didn't say stupid money. Right? I'll continue to reiterate that, and you spent it. Right? And a lot of credit goes out to John Middleton. Right? This ain't on him, but now you got to continue to spend it, and that means moving on from Nick. Right, getting some things for your farm system back, right? Because there's value there. I'm just using putting Nick into this, right? And then going and upgrading. Not only, I think it's a better overall bat, right? I think Juan Soto is a better overall bat. I don't care about the righty because I'll replace the righty with Reese.
I agree. I think. See, what I'm looking at is baseball transactions are a little bit different these days, right? So when a guy who is making a all-star caliber salary, and you want to move on from him, and he's coming off of, he had a really good year.
Not a great year in RBIs, right?
Not a really great postseason.
Career year RBIs.
Did not have a great year last year. His value is going to be a little bit diminished at this point, right? So what happens now is it's not just we could trade him and get a couple prospects back, right? You're going to get low-end prospects that may never even reach the major leagues. So if you want to get a value back for him, you then either have to kick in a ton of money, which maybe they do, maybe they don't.
Yeah, but a winning team, a team that's close.
You have to add prospects of your own just to get rid of them.
No, because it's not that much money left. It's not that much money left on the contract. 1 and 2.
What's he got? 2 years left.
Yeah, and a team that's close. Yeah, and a team that's close to winning, right? And the power righty, power bat away. Don't tell me you're not going to get a piece back or 2.
But I'm
not telling you you're getting a top 10 prospect back, but I'm telling you you could probably get a top 25 back from somebody.
Get it, but I'm saying now, right? Teams are going to look at what has he done in the last 2 postseasons, though. That's going to come back, and that's going to be a factor. If a team's going out to acquire a guy for a playoff run, they're going to look at his last 2 playoff runs.
Yeah, and he was
good early on. He was good early on.
Hold on, bro. He hits like 7 or 8 home runs in a row in like 4 or 5 games. So I mean, I know he's stunk.
Nothing.
I understand that, but that still happened. Like it still happened though. I'm not going to argue with value. I'm not telling you to even trade him. I don't want to get a trade talk. I'm just telling you that you're not getting a top 10 prospect. Well, you can get top 25 back for a team that's close. And if not, then who gives a shit? Like I don't care. Right? I don't care if I'm getting Soto. And fuck it. At this point, I'll move Marte to center, get Soto, and keep Castellanos. So you guys really want to get cute, and I'll get rid of Schwarber and DH Harper, and then DH Castellanos, and do it that way, right? I mean, there's ways you can do it. It's not to be one way.
I think one of those two is gone now. I agree with you. Because you have a logjam. Schwarber or Casti.
Well, I think it's Kathy because I think
obviously you can't move Bryce, and you don't want to move Bryce. You can't move Turner, right? You know what I mean? And those two guys are the next two guys that obviously have large contracts, but are also the quickest up, right? So the
only way they move from them is with Soto in return of some fashion.
Agreed.
The only way they move from them if they're getting or anybody, right? Like anybody that's like a free agent.
To your point, though, or you're moving Bryce back to right, and Reese is coming in the first.
Yes. But still, you're still without a left fielder per se. So my point is,
I got you. If you're looking, I got you. If you're looking to upgrade from what we just watched, I got you.
Yeah. Like I'm not, and they might run it back, right? And with some additions, who knows? Who cares right now? What matters right now is this was bad. That's all.
Yes.
I think compared to we got a couple comparisons after being up 2-0, right? Oh, this is the best team. This is better than 08. Fuck if it is.
Yeah.
08, what you just talked about, how you build a lineup, power and balance. That's what 08 had. 08 had a strategy. This team, and this may lay at the feet of Topper, right? If plan A ain't working, what's plan B?
Yeah.
We had no plan B for the last 5 games. Mm-hmm. And even with that being said, you still had your opportunities.
You
in
just
every
gotta
game.
flip some. You just got to flip a lineup. Like that's how you can get guys out of it. In a weird way, you could throw that lineup in a hat, right? And literally pick it out of a hat and say, we're going to run with it like this today, right? Like in a game 7, right? After a game 6 loss and your offense looks non-existent, you're almost forced as a manager to just move some things around. It doesn't have to be anything major, right? It doesn't have to be anything major. Like you could swap Turner and Schwarber. You could swap, right, Bryce, and you could put Bohm down and bring up Cassie or bring up JT. There's so many things you could do.
Bohm for JT was going to be the move.
Yeah, and guess what? It worked out Bohm better in terms of that per se, right? But at the end of the day, it's just a different thing, right? You're just trying something different. And as a manager, right, I get your loyalty to what got you there, but now you've been anemic at the plate, right? You haven't hit well. So now what you're trying to do is just change up something to see if it works, right? And it might come out the same result, right? Who knows? Nobody has that. Nobody can go figure that out. But what I can figure out is there's nothing wrong with changing a situation like that. And you're not like going crazy change. You're just moving some things around. Like you're not letting Harper bat 3. Maybe you put him 4, right? Or maybe you put him 2. I don't give a shit. You just move it. When you're losing, it's not just struggling, right, Pete? When you're losing, you have to change it. Like you know what I mean? You're up against it.
Yeah. Like even look at, I don't even know what the D-backs manager's name is, right? But back game 4 and 5, Alec Thomas was a pimp. He was a pimp in Arizona. He sat his ass yesterday.
Yep.
He didn't even start him. When you have the feel like that and the pulse of your team, that is why they are moving on. And they have probably 1/3 of the payroll that took the field for the Phillies tonight. And I know money isn't everything, but when you tied up like this, you don't have a resource. You don't have a farm. You can't go to Reddit. You can't go and look down and say, who can we have to come up? You don't have a Corbin Carroll, a.k.a. Johnny Damon Jr. I don't give a fuck what nobody say in your system. So guess what you have to do, Middleton? Go spend money. Go trade. You have to do something, which is harder to do. But
it's not harder to do because they print money there, right? And they know in the postseason they're printing money, right? And if you add, like we talked about, if you add a legit closer, if you add, Soto or the likes, right? Somebody that's another monster star per se coming into town. Right now, you're banking on doing it that way. And now, if you get young players that are closer, like a Justin Crawford, etc., that's ready in the next 2 years, you mix them in with your veterans, and you hope to keep the core of this together. And because listen, their window isn't shut by any stretch, right? It's not shut at all. Now it's figuring it out from here. What pieces can you add that are contact guys that have great plate discipline? Juan Soto is that. If you're looking for great plate discipline, I'm not telling you he's gotten the results last year. I'm not telling you any of that. What I'm telling you is if you watch him as a hitter, he's always laser focused. And the more guys, even Harper outside of game 6, he's been focused, right? It's not like you can tell by his swings. He's right there. He's focused. He's locked in. I need more guys with that kind of plate discipline. I can't have guys that like Nicky, who I love, but is ADD City and admits to being ADD City, and he's just going up there hacking, right? And he's guessing. Like, I can't. When you guess as a hit, I can't have guessers in my lineup. I can't. I got the more guys that know the zone, right? Okay, and trust in what they're seeing is the more guys that I need and that put baseballs in play. And so
you thought you were getting that from Trey. You thought you were getting that from Trey.
And he did do that the whole second half, right, Greg?
And he got up to this point. Yep. Yeah.
Up until the last two games.
Up till this series, he was locked in.
And the sad part is all our guys were locked in. And like Pete said, we were putting up 15 a night. You know, it was like a basketball game, right? A football game, right? And then all of a sudden you go, all right, everybody's cold now. Now who's going to pick up that slack, right? And we didn't get it. We just didn't get it. And that's like, again, you can struggle. You can't struggle to that magnitude. That's the difference. Like I expect to have it flow. I can't have 0 for 23. I expect to have it flow. I can't have 2 for 28 from those 4 guys that were last 2 games, or 1 for 28, sorry, or 2 for whatever the hell it is. I can't be 1 for 10 with runners in scoring position tonight, and the one hit I had didn't even score a run. So there's certain things I can't do. And part of it is just baseball. Part of it is just baseball and some bad luck, right? Because I don't think this is a bad locker room. I don't think there's bad chemistry. I don't think there's selfishness, right? To be clear about that. But you came up small. So I got some beanbag checks going, right? And then now I got to figure out, and Dave Dombrowski's done a great job of this, I got to figure out, hey, what are my weaknesses? And they just showed. So in reality, the best thing that comes out of this is your weaknesses are on a silver platter.
Yes.
So it's obvious to I would hope, not only us, that we consider ourselves smart baseball people, but obviously the Phillies guys.
And for especially for this game, right? All you got to do is look at the stats. Go look at the box score. They had more darts to throw at the dartboard. They double out of everything else. Even game 4, game 3, game 4. Yesterday was just what it is, right? They doubled us in hits tonight. Doubled us in hits tonight. Just let that shit sit. Just let that sink in. They had more base runners in the last 5 games, and they hit pay dirt. They cashed in. Versus that shows you right there. The biggest thing is Kevin Long, the hitting coach, the approach to change it, to do whatever. You had to create some spark. Taking a fucking flight, and I'll say this once again, and stepping into your home field, wasn't magic going to make you just get it all back again?
Yeah.
You had to earn it. That game 4 comeback win, that's when the Diamondbacks are like, okay, you not the bully we thought you were.
Yep. You let him right back in the series. That changed the whole confidence, and I knew right there that this we could lose this series. That was the first time where you're like, oh, like game 3 you chalked up. Game 3 we sort of knew was coming. Now again, not acceptable, but we sort of felt it.
Doesn't make it true. It doesn't make it better, but
yeah, we felt it, even though it's still not good. But game 4 is a game you got to win, and you had that lead. You had that opportunity, and it's not on Kimbrel. It's where it comes on Rob Thompson, okay? Because I know I told you all when we signed Kimbrel, people were upset about it. I said no, his earned run average is inflated because of his splits against the Diamondbacks when he was a Dodger. They smoked him all around the park. So that right there, and he didn't pitch well there. So right there, that's on the silver platter of information for you. And the other thing that's on the silver platter of information for you is he's 35 goddamn years old and he just threw 30 pitches the night before. So you know, Rob, this late in the season that he's tired. So now at that time, that's missionary. That's, honey, I'm just going to come upstairs and we're just going to do it the same way every fucking night, Rob. Okay? And I got respect for you, Robbie. But that right there, I was like, why are they bringing him in the game? Like, you got to go to somebody else. To win a World Series, sometimes you got to go to somebody else because a guy is exhausted and you got to have that feel as a manager. And I know Craig's, because he's a winner, not a winner, but per se, but like he's been in the league. He's probably gonna be a Hall of Famer, right? 400 plus saves, been doing it for a long time. He's probably not a guy, right? Knowing him, that's gonna say my arm isn't good or my arm's tired. He's a guy that's gonna keep that on the hush hush, right? But you got to know as a manager this deep in the season that he just threw 30 something pitches. Like, I don't know. Wait, save Sir Anthony, save somebody, save Strom, save anybody. You were creative early on in the earlier series against Atlanta and Miami. You were creative.
Yep.
You got missionary here. You never run him out there in game 4. I knew it as soon as he run on the field. I said his fastball is going to be 94 and it's going to be flat as shit.
Well, so the other thing,
even if you do, you got to have. Even if you do, you got to have somebody ready to go. If you bring him in, because you could tell with Kimbrel, it's either the first or second guy. You could tell whether he's got it or not. Have someone ready to go after batter 3. Like, have someone ready to go.
What's Lorenzen splits against the D-backs, right? Like, how's he thrown against the D-backs? I'd like to know that one, right? Like, anybody
or how about a $72
else.
million man?
Yeah, like, where's Taiwan Walker in this? Like,
what
I pay him?
Did he pitch it all in the postseason?
No, he didn't pitch it all in the postseason.
He didn't throw a pitch.
For what? He can't come out of the bullpen for me. He can't close the game if I need it, or be in the 8th inning, or be in the sorry, Greg, in game 4. Like, why can't he pitch in the 6th or 7th? I don't know who threw that game.
I thought they messed up after they brought Hoffman in, right? You got Hoffman that came in for Sanchez.
Early, right?
So I think Hoffman came in the 3rd, got through the 3rd, and then to me, I thought you should have went a combination of Walker, Lorenzen for the next 2-3 innings, whatever combination you wanted to go there, right? Because then you could have saved.
Well, Lorenzen's not even in the conversation there. It's Walker for a few innings.
That's fine. But I'm saying those two guys
didn't throw
at all. So
Lorenzen did
the two of them. You should have gotten 3 or 4 innings of length between the two of them, which would have saved your high leverage guys instead of using them in the 4th and 5th and 6th and 7th.
Yeah, and I'm piggybacking off of you, right? And I said this on Monday, Tom, but you really look at the numbers too, right? Everybody talks about how Kimbrel didn't pitch well in that game. After Hoffman, that pitching staff struggled. Kerkering walked 2 guys. Soto didn't look good in that game. I mean, you really go through the bullpen struggled after Hoffman for the most part. Yeah, there was an opportunity there, and as the game went on, well before it got to Kimbrel, the pitching staff was getting touched up. I'm 100% with what Greg said there. Whether you go Walker, Lorenzen, or you go a combination of both, I think at that point I thought they brought in Hoffman way too early.
Well, no, I'm okay with the high leverage spot for Hoffman there, right? Like, that's okay. To start that next hold on. To start that next inning, that's got to be Walker to start a fresh inning with nobody on, right? So he starts a fresh inning with nobody on, and now I can get 2, and now a guy like Alvarado, right? I can push back. I still have Strom. I still have Kirkling if I want to go to him, but now I'm deeper there, and now if I can somehow get, what happens if I get 4 out of Walker? What happens if he's on, right? And now all of a sudden, I got 7 innings. I got 7 innings, and now 8, 9 is all I got to figure out. So you don't know what happens there. But now you use all your guys, and you're going missionary saying, well, Kimbrel's waiting in the 9th. Well, Craig just threw 35 plus pitches. So I got to feel that out. I wouldn't even do that in a regular season game.
I'm not debating the high leverage spot. What I'm saying personally for me, I like him later in games where the other team is starting to hit a little bit, and you need somebody that can come in and settle down that batting order and make pitches that you need. I personally would have helped. Regardless, though, he did his job. There's everybody after him. I maybe would have thrown Kerkering a little bit earlier there and maybe had him in that spot. And because at the time he was pitching well going into that game. and then he came in and walked 2 guys in that game. I might have used him earlier in the game instead of Hoffman and saved. Regardless, I'm not debating that. It's after that though. The bullpen gave them opportunities to gain confidence as that game was going on. And then to your point, you burned through so many of your high leverage guys that at that point you were almost backed into a corner to use Kimbrel in that 9th inning.
And you didn't tack on like JT
exactly.
had. JT had in the bat.
Out.
Yeah, JT had in the bat with a man on third, less than 2 outs, and he swung at a curveball to hit the Phillies dugout. So I mean, you had opportunities, and the same thing goes for tonight. You got opportunity with Nick, right? They make it a 3-1 game. You make it a 3-1 game. Right now, that places even more into it, and now there's even more pressure on Arizona. And that's the problem. You didn't do any of the little things right lineup-wise. Hey, listen, at the end of the day, when you're talking about 7-game series that goes 7, you're going to have closers or guys get hit, right? Yep. At the end of the day, you got stung on one. But still, even with that thing, like this isn't all on him. We had chances to extend that lead, like I said, in game 4. Like part of the blame goes on Kimbrel, of course. Part of it's on Rob, and part of it's on the lineup not tacking on. And then, so at the end of the day, okay, I'm still 2-2. I win game 5. Now I'm up 3-2. Now I'm coming back to my place. And then when I come back to my place, this ain't on Craig. Craig's an afterthought now.
Yep.
So now it's on my lineup and my big money guys to show the fuck up, and not one of them did. It's a downright disgrace. It's awful. That's not big money guys. That's losers at the end of the day. That's what we would call them if we're fans of other teams. We would say these guys are losers, and they're not losers, like in a term of like they're not good, great baseball players. I'm saying in terms of winning it all. I'm saying in terms of hoisting trophies. Like when you let somebody else come into your ballpark for 2 straight games and you hit that poorly, right? I mean, anybody's going to be under the microscope. Right? That ain't good. Listen, we're going to come back, talk to you a little bit more here. We're going to take a quick commercial break. When we'll be right back, we'll continue our event session here on A2D Radio, Phillies postgame, and our poll that you can talk about when you come back. Is this the biggest collapse in Phillies sports history in your lifetime? Do you agree or disagree? Let us know wherever you're tuning in from, and make sure you follow us everywhere you get your podcasts. And we got shows for everybody. We'll be right back.
Royal Billiard and Recreation, proudly celebrating 40 years and our new, bigger showroom.
Twice the size and twice the fun.
More pool tables by Olhausen. More dartboard sets, including custom reclaimed backboards. More bar and kitchen stools that can change a room.
And more bars, including pre-built and custom.
Hot tubs, skee ball, shuffleboard, outdoor,
and fun.
Royal Billiard and Recreation, your ultimate game room store. Now located on Bethlehem Pike in Colmar.
In our family, food is our daily bond. My nonna, affectionately called Mama by many, found solace and joy in the kitchen, sharing her love through delicious creations. She turned her culinary passion into a flourishing business alongside her husband and sons in 1983. Celebrating 40 years is a testament to our exceptional team, friends, family, and beloved customers. With gratitude, we look forward to the future, expanding our brand to share the highest quality Italian food and wine nationwide. Our heartfelt thanks to everyone who has played a part in our story. Grazie mille.
Hats.com is the premier destination for quality and fashion-forward hats and more, with designs for every style and trend. Locally based and run by Philly sports team fanatics, Hats.com can help you elevate your hat John. Utilize the easy-to-use guides at Hats.com to find your perfect size and style, and shipping and returns are free. Hats.com. Find yourself in a hat. Use code Philly for 15% off your order. Hats.com.
Welcome back, everybody. This is the A2D Radio Phillies postgame show. Not the kind of show we were expecting tonight or hoping for, but we're still here to talk to you. We want you to vent it out with us tonight, obviously. And yeah, go check out hats.com. Use promo code promo code Philly. You get 15% off your order. So you can go get the hat Brian Dawkins wore in his Hall of Fame induction. So go check them out. Go use promo code Philly for 15% off. We're venting here tonight. We're venting. So, I think everybody but Greg agreed that this was the worst collapse in their lifetime that they can remember. Everybody but Chrome agreed, right? So that's telling. And two, it's fresh, right? It's obviously fresh in the brain, and what are you going to do, man? What are you going to do besides trying to change some things up and trying to add the right pieces and continue to try to get back here? It's not easy getting here. We know that
too, Tom. That's it takes so long to get invested to this point where you're so enthralled in it. Like the build is so slow. It's the slowest build at the top of the roller coaster to get there. And then you get there and it's just like everything was in front of you. And when you look at, like, you had runners on base. Like I said, the starting pitching, we can sit here and talk about game 4 and the decision, what 6 to 9 outs you could have got from any combination other than your high leverage guys, right? But still, at the end of the day, you had the last 2 games to win 1 in your park, and this is what you do. Mm-hmm. This is what you do. And you got guys tonight that swing by Harper in the 7th inning. The swing by Harper in the 7th, like you said, Tom, he's up here uppercutting. Bitch, it's not August. It's about to be November. It's 50 degrees out. Level that swing out, drive it. You're not going to hit a moonshot. Okay, I'm done.
To your point, Pete, 2 things. A, you're 100% right, and I do think that's why in these moments when you do lose, particularly in a situation where you should be the better team, it's so hard because you're talking about 162 games. You're talking about 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock West Coast start times where if you're really like a hardcore dedicated fan, like you're going to work every day, especially on the East Coast, and you're staying up late as shit to watch these games. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's a grind, even just as a fan. I mean, obviously as a fan, it's a grind to get through a baseball season, and then you get to this point, and this is the result. It's a tough pill to swallow. Unrelated, I don't know if you guys saw the picture, but did you happen to see Bryce Harper's dress attire walking in tonight? It feels almost very
I didn't want to bring it up.
Oh, well, I mean, at this point,
I
didn't want to mention it. I didn't want to mention it before. Yeah, I mean, you walk in with that, and then you have your stars have that appearance in a game like this. It's almost poetic justice, unfortunately. I'm with Jacqueline down here. That sucks, but at this point, go Birds.
Bro, and it's like you get moments where your prime guys, your Wagyu beef guys may not get an opportunity. They had opportunities. Guys had opportunities tonight to become legends.
Yeah.
Legends. And then it made me like
guys did. They just weren't on our team.
Too soon.
Let's be honest. They weren't on. I mean, Ketel Marte, in my opinion, has had an unbelievable playoff. He has made himself a bona fide superstar in this league, outside of just Arizona.
Did he get the MVP? I turned on Duck Dynasty.
I didn't see, but I
wouldn't be surprised. I wasn't surprised if Fox got it or Carroll got it.
I feel like it has to be Marte. He had so many big hits in this series. And
first pitch fastballs too.
Oh my God.
They just kept lobbing them up. First pitch fastballs. You know the guy's on the fastball. Like where is games 3 through 7? We like our whole managerial staff just they threw strategy out the fucking window. The worst
it was Marte, by the way.
No vocabulary at all. You know what I mean? It was almost what we kind of did to the Braves, and how the Braves coach managerial staff just is like, let's just show up. We simulated games and they fell flat. They caught us flat and we had no answer. No, there was no answer. And game for Saturday was some, I want to say false hope. It was hope. And you thought that would carry over because, like Tom said, this whole season, they've been talking about how resilient they were, and they have bounced back. So actually going into this game tonight, there was nothing stopping me from not believing in the team, right? Almost to the point where when Rojas was up with bases loaded, I'm thinking, okay, like he's at least gonna put a bat on the ball. Nope. Like it's just like it's mind-boggling.
You were thinking small. I was thinking, please make a mistake, and he's going yard.
Listen, here's the thing, right? So the hitters, your big main star hitters, right? Who could probably be more patient at the plate, swinging at the bad shit. Rojas comes out. Bases loaded. First pitch was a hanging slide on the inside part of the plate. Fucking bat never left his shoulder. You were not going to see a pitch. You were not supposed to see that pitch in the first place.
Yeah.
You definitely were going to see another one like that.
See, the only one I'll give a little bit of a pass to, and I just think it was situational. If you looked at his one at bat, there was an opportunity for Schwarber where, I mean, the umpire started calling some strikes low and out of the zone, and he was taking pitches. Then once he calls that, you almost force him to anything low in the bottom of the zone he has to swing at. And he ended up striking out of the pitch a little bit lower down out of the zone. That one I kind of gave him an overlook for because I felt like the umpire basically backed him into the situation of having to swing at that pitch. But overall, kind of like you guys were saying, I mean, guys just the patience wasn't there. And here's the thing, too. You know, we were talking earlier about guys getting blamed who are going to be the wrong guys. I know it. I've seen it already. I've been going on my Facebook feed. Everybody's already going Kimbrel, who was paid $10 million. People are completely overlooking the fact that you have $300 million guys on this team, $100 million, $200 million guys on this team who completely went silent the last 3 or 4 games in this series. And they're pinning it. And listen, that game 4 situation, not a good look for him. Not a good look for a few people in that. Mm-hmm. But overall, and including that game, bats went dead. Bats went dead, with the exception of game 5. They came alive.
And Pete, you talked about the Diamondbacks the last couple of games with runners on base just constantly, right? Runners on base constantly, whether they cashed in or not, right? That was the hallmark of us up until game 2, right? Yep. Up until game 3, whether we cashed in, because we weren't good with runners in scoring position all postseason. But what we were doing all postseason up until that point is every inning it felt like we had runners on base, right? We had runners on base. They were making stressful pitches with guys either in scoring position or on base. And then games 3 through today, that went away. That flipped and that turned to Arizona. Yep. And Pete, that was spot on because that's what we did so well, even when we weren't cashing in, right? And even today, when they didn't cash in those innings that like Hoffman, got that one blank inning and Wheeler got that one blank inning, but there was guys on base. There was guys in scoring position that made those pitches so much more stressful than what you would normally want them to be in spots like that.
And even to take that a step further, just go back and think over the last 4 games, how many 1, 2, 3 innings that our pitchers had.
Very few.
Especially the last 2 games. Especially the last 2 games. We haven't had them. So what does that do? That makes you get into your pen, that tires your arm more. And then I remember something that I think it was Ron Darling watching the TBS broadcast. He said, this is the second time through the lineup. So you can literally see the strategy for Diamondback hitters change the second time around, right? So we saw none of that with the Phillies' approach at the plate.
Yeah.
You didn't see any of that.
No,
so
you didn't see it in game 3 either, right? There was no adjustment in game 3 to 5.
No adjustments whatsoever.
Yeah, that's just, I don't know. I need a double shot of tequila right now.
I need to put my weighted vest on and go sit in the bottom of the pool.
It's just, bro, like it's just like we said, like at this when we ran a commercial. Shout out to all of our sponsors: Carlino's, Royal Billiards, hats.com, Bowman hats. Dude, I'm thinking like, yo, it takes another 162 plus to get this invested again.
Yeah, like imagine you got to go through that whole grind all over again. There is no fast track. There's no one game every week for 18 weeks, with the exception of 1 week in the middle. It's tough. The baseball season's tough, man, and I get it, guys. I feel I legitimately feel the disappointment for the Philadelphia fan base, because that was painful to watch, and I hope that going forward, obviously they can make the right. I would if you guys are talking about one or two are gone, right, Greg? You think it's either going to be Schwarber or Castellanos?
Well, I just think the roster's locked at some point, right? I mean, you're not moving Bohm. You can't. The whole infield, you can't move. You can.
I feel like they're overcrowded. Yeah, I feel like their starting roster at this point is overcrowded.
That's where my thought is. At least one or two, either Schwarber or Casty's got to go.
Like I would keep Schwarber personally. Castellanos is probably the guy I would move on from. I mean, because what are you going to do? Are you going to move Marsh back to center field and move Castellanos maybe over to left, move Bryce back to right, and run the same lineup you had out there essentially in 2022?
Yeah.
Obviously, with the exception of Trey and Stott. And I don't know that they want to do that.
See, now, I just saw something in the chat that says, why wasn't Hoskins DH? So remember when they announced the rosters? In that spot, if we go everything's in hindsight, right? If you go back and look at how this roster is built, I know Tom kind of talked about it. This dude hasn't played in over 6 months.
You can't put him in there. He hasn't had a swing. He hasn't played since spring training.
But just imagine if Rojas is in that spot, bases loaded, you bring him in to hit. I'm not saying he could have still did the same shit.
I would have rather had. Honestly, I told you I would have rather just played Pache. At least Pache's not a huge dip defensive leaning. He's a way better hitter at this point. And that doesn't say much because he's not like a world beater, but he hits 220, 230.
He hits better than 100, right?
Under 100.
Oh, my God.
Under 100 for Rojas.
I think that's the one thing about Topper. He's too loyal to what he calls his quote-unquote guys. He's loyal to a fault.
Is a defensive replacement in the 7th or 8th and 9th inning. No offense to him. He might become more eventually, but he's not there yet. He's not there yet. I think I feel like at the plate, defensively, clearly the moments weren't too big. But at the plate, the moments were way, way too big. Way, way too big for him.
That is true. Philly Liverpool says Kyle did it in 2016. He did it for the Cubs. But, I mean, I don't know. Man.
Yeah, I think Reese would have been an option had we advanced. I think there was a shot he was going to be on the World Series roster.
For sure.
But there was no chance. I mean, there was no chance that he was coming back for this. And again, it's not fair to Reese to put him in that spot to then try and expect anything different out of him.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you're right. It would have been a cool moment. It would have been like, oh yeah, Reese, yeah.
Right.
But then if he does nothing, then they crush him for
Reese sucks.
A playoff spot. Right. Yeah, they're not even him, but they crushed the team for wasting a playoff spot on him. Yeah. You know what I mean?
But fuck, we just talked about Taiwan Walker. You're paying $72 million. This bitch ain't throw one ball the whole postseason. How many games did they play in the postseason? You got 7, you got 4 from the NLDS, and you got 2 from the wild card. What's that? That's 13 games. And this dude ain't throw one pitch.
Nope.
One live ball. $72 million.
And I know Kesey mentioned earlier, and apparently he wasn't even close to being good in his bullpen, and that's why they went to Sanchez.
You can't make this shit up.
Oh, so he didn't look good in the bullpen section.
No. And that probably factors into why didn't they go to him in the bullpen, right? But, I mean, at some point, you got to just say, dude, you're paying a lot of money. We got to see what you got here.
Yeah.
You know, but that's why they went Sanchez, who I thought did well outside of that huge mental error.
Richie here says, why? This is the second time he says, so why didn't Wheeler demand the ball in Gates? I will say this. You can't go into a game 7, 6, whatever, and think that you're just going to put up shutouts. You shouldn't come in with that mentality because that's not realistically going to happen. So I don't think even if Wheeler pitched that he gets a 1 run, 2 runs, even if he only gave up 3, fucking wasn't winning because you only scored 2. The problem wasn't Like the problem wasn't from the problem was within the approach and the lineup.
The problem was the offense. The problem was the offense the last 4 games.
Hands down.
And Wheeler threw what he was going to throw. Whether he started or not, he was throwing 30 to 40 pitches, and that was it. That's what he normally throws on his side day bullpens. That's why they threw him today. They obviously made the decision today to obviously skip his bullpen, and then he was going to be used today, right? They weren't going to skip the bullpen and then not use him. So they used him, and that's what you got out of him. You got his 30 pitches, and you can't ask any more of him. The dude shoved 2 games and then came in and did everything we need him to do in this game.
Yep. Arizona maximized the advent of the pitch clock. They took advantage of it. You can't throw over more than twice, they're going. And our pitchers just didn't do a good enough job of holding off. And when we did catch him in a rundown, you saw what happened.
Yep.
You saw what happened. It's just.
And early in the series, we kept them off base, and we kept them off rhythm to where they couldn't run around. Right. And
they really didn't steal a base for what?
We obviously heard the broadcast bring it up every chance they got, but they didn't really start running until yesterday.
That's what I was trying to. I was trying to think it was either yesterday or Game 5. I know it took them a while to start running.
Maybe a little bit in Game 5.
Once they did, though, the gates opened up.
So they didn't run much against Wheeler.
Yeah, you're right. It must have been yesterday. Yeah. And
naturally, you're going to do that when you're up, right? We did that when we were up, right? When we were rolling, we were running.
Yeah,
and that's what they were doing. And when you get behind, that's where it goes. Like going back to today, going down 1-0 wasn't good. You
almost felt like it was over at that point.
You almost did, right? And then you bounce back and you get your one, and you're like, all right, now we're back level. And then what happens? Then they get another. We just
and like every time after we traded that 1-1 for every one they got 2.
They got 2. Yep.
Now I had some friends over, and I felt like one was still manageable, but I felt like when they got that 2-run lead, that 2 runs felt like 10 runs. Mm-hmm. Like it was like, I don't think they can even, like at this point, I feel like they're going to pack it in. I think that's honestly the moment I felt like it was done. Like you guys were talking about Bryce throwing the ball, and I felt like as soon as that second run came across the board that put them up 4-2, I was like, oh man, I don't know if they have it in them. They haven't showed me any fight tonight.
Yeah.
And it's funny, Crum, you say that too, because like most of the postseason, we talked about, the comparisons to 08, right? And those teams. And most of the postseason, you would have said, all right, I got 2 outs left. I can still believe in this team, right? Because because they showed that to us, right? They showed us that most of the postseason up until the last 4 games, that they were able to answer bells, right? They were able to answer in scenarios and stuff like that. Well, we saw very early in today's game that for whatever reason, it felt like that they were done. Like they didn't have that answer in them. So it's funny you say that because for the first time almost all postseason, Chrome, I agree. Once it got to 2 and they were teetering on that 3rd run, like that 3rd run lead, it was almost like this game's unmanageable. We can't get a run. We can't get 1, let alone 3.
Yeah, I felt like I was like, oh God, man, to get 2 runs, it literally felt like 10 runs down.
No, it did because like hitting's so contagious one way or the other, right? And it can be everybody's hot as a pistol, or the opposite. and we just so happen to see this one.
Well, this is going to be a real boring World Series, I'll tell you what, boys. I mean, I don't want to say boring. I think quality-wise, it's actually going to be an entertaining one. But, man, I guarantee the ratings are going to be some of the worst ratings they've had in years.
I might watch a little bit junky, but
I will probably watch the deciding, maybe the first game and the deciding game after that. But I like guys like Semien and I do like Marte. So, I would be interested to watch what those guys do on the big stage, but I just don't know how big that stage is going to be. I think MLB, this is like a worst case scenario. I really, truly do.
No, I mean, listen, that is what it is. I'm not going to watch a second of it. I'm going to shift my focus to Eagles and sadly some NBA.
Man, coming off of such a huge Eagles win the other night too, man. Like what a fucking down.
And I'm going to shift my focus to some Flyers, right? Up 2-1 right now.
Hey, they look good.
So young, energetic, some guys who can skate. Looks, we'll see what they do. But either way, focus is shift. We'll obviously get back into baseball talk as things happen, winter meetings, etc. Right? Terrible way to go out. And now the focus shifts on how this baseball team gets over this. And if anything's added, subtracted, and different. So that's what it all shifts to now. There's nothing we can do about it, right? There's nothing they can do about it. So you see what decisions are made this offseason. I'm very curious. You know what I mean? Very curious to see what Dave Dombrowski does this offseason to bring guys back or to move on from guys and add guys from different places. It's going to be an interesting offseason. I think the free agent market's pretty good. I think it's a decent one. I gotta go really dive into it. I haven't really thought we were gonna still be playing. But there's some things that are out there that we can talk about down the road that maybe this baseball team does. But gun to your head, is this a team that you believe as a whole can get over this type of collapse
and get back to this same spot and then have a different outcome?
Yeah.
As currently constructed, no.
Okay.
I think if they figure out the outfield situation, change that up a little bit, and if they can go out and get a closer, and I think they either need another starter and or bring Nola back, yes, I do believe in them. And that's a lot to ask. It's not that much to ask for. Overall, I think the team's pretty well built. They need somebody who's going to hit in big spots, and they need somebody who's going to be a shut the door at the back end.
With the money that's already tied up in this team, you have to say yes. You have to. And the money that Dave Dombrowski is supposedly has at his disposal, you have to, as Tommy said, like it's a feat to get here every year, but this isn't the end goal, right? You know what I mean? Like just like the Eagles, like we'd sign up for that run, every day and twice on Sunday to get the NFC Championship games and have a chance to go every year. We'd sign up for this for the Phillies, but this team isn't built like that. This team is built to win. And the money that you have invested in this team and the top end of this team is invested to bring home championships. So the answer to that question has to be yes. Gun to my head, do I know that we can do it? I don't know. I don't know that.
Once you set the standard, like the Eagles, like they created their own standard. The Phillies created a standard of getting there last year too. So once you create the standard, and you got big money guys, you're expected to be back. You're expected to keep going, right? So easier said than done.
Listen, Houston has made it to 7 consecutive ALCSs, right?
Mm-hmm.
I look at this Phillies roster and I see no reason why this team can't have a similar run where they get there year in and year out pretty much for more often than not over the next stretch of maybe even the next 3 to 4 years. You have that money tied into guys like Trey, into Bryce for that reason. They didn't pay them, 8 and 10 million or 8 and 9 year deals and 10-year deals for just a 2-year stretch run. So to your point, yes, I think this team can get back. They have to tweak a few spots. And I think Trey bounces back with a big year next year. He's been too much of a professional through his entire career to not believe that he would. And I think Bryce will continue to develop as a leader on this team, and getting Reese back hopefully next year, re-signing him and bringing him back is going to be a huge boost for this team. I have no reason to believe that this team can't make a run where they're in for the next 5 or for the next 6 NLCSs. And I have to think at some point they get over the hump.
I hope you're right.
Yeah, I hope you are too. Right?
It's easy to be pessimistic now, boys. I get it. It sucks. But they're very well built. At the end of the day, they really are a very well built team. It's just finding that last screw or that last cog that's going to get over that finish line.
Yeah, help get them over that finish line for sure.
That's it.
Yeah. It's just tough to swallow, right? That's all. It just really, really is. There's no other way to say it.
Yeah.
I told
you had it in the palm of your hands.
I told Croman like the 7th inning, I said, bitch, I'm going to sleep.
I told him too. I was like, I don't think we're gonna have Pete. He said he's going to bed.
Yeah, dude, it's just
didn't it feel a little bit better to come on and let that out a little bit?
It always feels good to get it out, but then now once we sign off, I fucking let my head hit the pillow.
Once we sign off, we start dancing on our own.
It's such a Philly fucking thing, a Philly area thing as our fans to turn a song where you go to a club and you see somebody that you like and you end up going home alone. It's such a Philly thing to then try to turn that song into something positive, and then you ultimately end up going home dancing on your own all over again.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's and then I think Martian Lynch, he said they Diamondbacks not literally planted the flag, but they said they were playing Dreams and Nightmares in the locker room.
Yeah, my head hurts, Wayne. I agree. This is a fucking migraine. Like I got a monster headache now. Keith says, Shohei Ohtani, boys. I'm all in, and it's not the money. Yeah, I mean, sign me up.
I would love him.
I mean, sign me up.
You're paying for 2 players, so it's going to cost you.
I'm gonna tell you right now, they go out and get a Shohei Ohtani. Lock it up. It's done.
Julian, I'm sure he's not happy, but they're right there. Julian says Middleton might not spend anymore, but he's making money, so it's not about that for him. It's about winning. So I mean, they are very close. I mean, to be fair, it's not like they're like, oh, well, they're 2-3 years away. No, I mean, they're they're knocking on the door. What can we do to get kick that door in, right? And that's where we're at. And I got trust in Dave Dombrowski. I didn't lose that. He's constructed rosters that win. So now it's just seeing what these final touches and improvements and different things he decides to do this offseason. Because it's going to be the most interesting offseason we had at Phillies wise in terms of what happens with some things, what's back that we've had in a while, and then do we, if we do lose a couple guys, do we star hunt as an organization again? So, I mean, a lot of things that could happen, and Nola could come back and Juan Soto could be in this lineup. I said, I got to look at all the free agents, but I'm sure, I'm sure there's enough. There's guys out there that can play. I would guess. I'm going to read you a Bryce Harper quote that he said after the game. And, I get this. He said, I know they're hurting, talking about us as the fans. We are too, but we'll be back. It just devastates me. I let this city down. I need to come through in that moment. So, getting it, understanding it, holding himself accountable, sometimes you come through in those moments, bet them in the bank, and sometimes you come up 3 feet short, right? And that's where the series is. It's a series where we were 3 feet short, 4 feet short of it, maybe in a different series. So, and just couldn't, like we talked about a million times, couldn't get this momentum back that we were playing with through the Miami series, Atlanta series, and the first 2 games of this series. We went ice cold. We played such great baseball, and we couldn't finish it. And that's the point. Like, I get there's slumps and I get there's other things, but when you come to this time of the year, you have to persevere, right? You have to figure it out quick. There's no time for 0 for 23s, right? There's no time for 2 for 28s. There's no time for that. You know what I mean? There's time for 10 for 28, which is a high rate. 8 for 28. Something's got to, you know what I mean? Something's got to happen there. So that's where I can't get passes, because this time of the year, there's other teams that fight through that adversity. They fight through that.
That are doing it. Yep.
That offer, right? That figure it out. They get a big hit. That gets them going. And that didn't happen. Like I said, after those first 2 series and 2 games into this series, it all went dead completely. Where, okay, you expect a little slumpish, but hey, I'm still going to need a couple big hits here and there. And you just didn't get it.
And ultimately, you can't go 7, regardless. You can't go 7 for 44 or 43 with runners in scoring position. You can't.
No. I mean, how do you expect to win? So that's why I said if you go 12 for 43, maybe you win the series.
Yeah.
Right. So I mean, that's the margin. Even if you go 10, right, you might win the series. So
absolutely.
The margin, just like in football, a game of inches, the margin is inches when you go to a game 7. There's things that happen. And if you're a Diamondbacks fan and you lose night, you can point your finger at things that you did wrong. But at the end of the day, like I said, you can go through some slumps. You can struggle with runners in scoring position. But there's got to be okay, we're struggling, but we're still getting enough hits. And it just didn't happen. So like we talked about, I think you need to get a couple different styles of hitters in here. And again, you got to figure out what you're going to do with the starting rotation, because you pay a guy like Walker a lot of money and he didn't even throw. So thank God the Eagles got Kevin Byard, and he gets to come to town, and we get to talk about that a little bit tomorrow. Chrome, Greg, right, on that edition, which is great, which is definitely great. Howie Hero does it again. And
Howie doing Howie things.
And Titans fans are sick to their stomach, because of all the talent. They're just like, we're Henry
they have
away.
to watch Will Levis this week.
Yeah, Henry away. We're Henry away from just being.
They're starting Will Levis this week. Oh my God.
Yeah, but
no, just both of them are going to play. Willis and Levis are both going to play, because Willis isn't good right now either.
Because that makes sense. But no, everybody out there, listen, I get it, and I see it in the chat, and we feel your pain. That's why we come on here, right? Sometimes it's the worst time to come on after losses, and other times it's the best, right? Because you really we get to talk to each other, we get to get it off our chest a little bit, and we're gonna create an event line here at A2D, coming in the next couple months, a place where you guys can come and really air it out even more, right? So definitely a show we're gonna do here, because it's important. It's important to clear the air, clear your vocals, right? And that's what we did tonight. That's what we did. We should be proud of our fucking selves. We competed more than they did. So, I'm a winner. So I don't know what you guys are, but I'm a goddamn winner. So at the end of the day, this team is close to being a winner. These players are close to being a winner, but that was cool. That was cool in Miami series. That's what you're playing for. Over 23 ain't getting us there.
Yep.
So like I said, man, that dude was on a torrid stretch, and it's not going to continue. And you might have a game or two that you're over, right? But again, you still got to get some hits, right? You still got to mix some things in. You might be batting 240 or something after it, or 220, but I still need you to mix a few in. I can't have over City. And Philly sports, it just hurts. Sometimes it hurts. When you talk about the Eagles, Super Bowl, Phillies, World Series, okay, then an NLCS collapse. It's been a tough ride, but a good ride, right? For both teams. It's been tough, but we won a lot of games. So that part's been enjoyable, but the ending hasn't finished. So same thing I'll say about the Eagles, man. The Eagles hold it, they set a standard that they need to get back to too. So now we shift to them, and we find out, if the Sixers ever get past the second round of the playoffs, which is probably a no, and we hope the Flyers catch them lightning in a bottle and maybe sneak themselves in as like an 8 seed, right? And we get some playoff hockey back here, and Danny and Keith Jones change the culture a little bit. So, some positives still out there. It's not all doom and gloom. Any closing thoughts, boys, before we get out of here?
This was very cathartic.
Yeah, lots to talk about here. Yeah. It was nice to do it.
So we bend this over. Yeah, it is. Thank you guys. I needed this outlet, and thank you for the fam. You guys make us go. I mean, as much as I love my brothers here, we probably could sit here and talk for an hour and a half. But the fact that we can interact with you and you're doing it, yeah. So truly are the best in the business in front of the camera and behind it. So you know what to do.
I appreciate the fam, obviously, and we hope that we gave you guys an outlet to let out your frustrations and interact with each other. So it's not what everybody expected, but hey, guys, got a lot of good things happen. Like Tom said, Eagles, Flyers look optimistic. I'm not going Sixers at this route, but hey, there's always next year, right?
I'm not putting my trust in Tobias Harris. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's tough. That's tough. Well, we're also brought to you by Carlino's Market. You can find them in Ardmore or Westchester, PA. If you're around in the area, go check them out. You won't be disappointed. Tell them A2D Radio sent you. And we're also brought to you by Royal Billiard. You got to go check them out. 515 Bethlehem Pike, Colmar, PA. Right? They got the best. They're stocked with the best in pool tables, accessories, shuffleboards, any type of gaming equipment you can think of to upgrade your man cave. And they got hot tubs too. Right, which a hot tub would be great after a night like this. So they're located 515 Bethlehem Pike, Colmar, PA. Visit them on the web, royalbilliard.com. And also give a shout out to hats.com. And you can use promo code Philly and get 15% off your order over at hats.com. And you can also wear the same hat Brian Dawkins wore in his Hall of Fame induction. And hey, you get 15% off of that hat too. So, boys, great vent sash. Appreciate you. For Chrome, Pete, Greg, I'm Tom. Everybody out there, we love you. Try to get some sleep tonight. This was it's a fucking tough one.
Yes.